The next topic in Chapter 5 is retail growth strategies. So we're going to talk about ways that a retailer can leverage their assets to expand their businesses. And there are 4 types of growth strategies. The first is market penetration. Then we'll talk about market expansion. Then we'll go into retail format development. And we will finish our conversation with a discussion on diversification. When a retailer is going to grow, they consider 2 things: their target market and their retail format. And so you can see that the combinations up here vary. We're going to start with market penetration right here, where you are going to use your existing target market and also your existing retail format. So you're not making any changes to the group of people that you're targeting or to how you run your business. Okay. The rest of the growth strategies vary a little bit, so we'll talk about that as we go. But let's start with market penetration. This is a growth opportunity directed at your existing customers using your existing format. So basically what you're trying to do is attract customers who currently aren't shopping at your store or who are shopping but might be spending very little. And so you want to try to get new customers in or get your customers to return a little bit more often. And there's a couple of approaches to doing that. So a couple of ways to go about market penetration. The first might be to open more stores in the area. So if you are located in central Georgia and you notice that you have customers who live in Milledgeville but have to drive to Macon to get to your store, you might consider opening a store in Milledgeville. That way you can reach that audience and they might shop more frequently because it's easier to get to. This is a map of all of the Starbuckses in just one borough of New York. So as you can see, opening lots of stores in the same area definitely isn't necessarily a problem. Another approach to market penetration is to just keep your store open. So add some existing or some extended hours. So I used to work at a paint store for a paint company, and our paint stores closed at noon on Saturday. And so we closed at noon because we didn't really have very many customers on Saturday. For a trial period, we decided to keep our stores open till 5 p.m. on Saturday. And we made a ton of money. It turns out people don't necessarily shop for paint on Saturday mornings, but they want to shop for paint or paint supplies on Saturday afternoons. So by just keeping our stores open longer, we were able to attract customers who weren't shopping with us already. Another thing you can do is try to increase your impulse purchases. And so this is all in how you display the merchandise in store. So you might be like a Target and set up a dollar spot, or you might start selling candy bars at the cash register. Right? So try to get customers to just spend a little bit more with each purchase they make. The other thing you can do is cross-sell. And this is the example of, do you want fries with that? Right? So trying to get your employees to upgrade your customers to buy additional products while they're out shopping. So that's market penetration. The second growth strategy we're going to discuss today is market expansion. And this uses the existing format, but now you are targeting new market segments. So you are focusing on a new target market with your existing retail format. And so this could be by expanding geographically, right? So Dunkin' Donuts used to only be located on the Northeast. You see Dunkin' is all the pink up there. And then Dunkin' Donuts is now a somewhat national chain. So you see the different pink dots all down in the Southeast. You see pink dots in the Midwest. And even a few out here in the West. So this is actually all coffee shops, and so kind of where they're scattered to. But Dunkin' started in the Northeast, and then they used market expansion to grow geographically. Another example of market expansion would be through targeting different demographics. So not sure if you know this or not, but Abercrombie & Fitch, the company that owns them, also owns Hollister and also owns Gilly Hicks. Now, all of these retail stores target a slightly different demographic. So you could argue that Abercrombie and Fitch targets maybe high schoolers and some younger college students, whereas Hollister targets more middle school, maybe early high school. And so they target different groups of people. Gilly Hicks targets an older segment there. So another example of this would be Chico's, White House Black Market, and Soma. And so all of these apparel retailers are owned by the same company, but they target different audiences. So there's a lot of retailers that use market expansion. They're going to sell a similar product at a similar price. Their locations are going to be somewhat similar. Presentation, their people, right? It's all about the same, but they target different demographics of people. So that is market expansion. The third way that a retailer can grow is through retail format development. And this is when you use a new retail format to target your existing target market. So now you're targeting the same type of audience, but you're changing up part of your retail format. So maybe price, place, product, promotion, presentation, or people. So you're going to change it up a little bit. And so this opportunity, an example of this would be Walmart. Walmart started with just a full-line discount store. Then they used retail format development to open their supercenters. And so now they had both the full-line discount store and the supercenter. Most recently, they used this strategy when they introduced their Walmart Neighborhood Market, which is only a grocery store. So they're targeting the same audience, the same type of shopper, but they're changing their retail format to try to grow. All right, another way to grow is through diversification. And so diversification is when you have a new retail format directed towards a new market. So this is completely changing everything about your retail strategy and also targeting a new group of people. And so there's related diversification, and then there's unrelated diversification. So related diversification is when a retailer's current target market and retail format share something in common. So maybe you're purchasing from the same vendors, or you're operating in a similar location. You might even use the same information system. So an example of that would be the Home Depot. The Home Depot is a DIY store, but what they realized is that a lot of builders and contractors were shopping in their store. And so they opened the Home Depot Supply, which is targeted specifically toward contractors and home builders. So similar business, but also it's a new retail format targeting a new market segment. So then we have unrelated diversification, which is when your retail format and market have very little in common with your current business. And so that would be, this is a pie chart showing General Electric, GE's business lines. And so you can see they operate in power and water, oil and gas, but then they also operate in aviation, healthcare, transportation, and home appliances. So their business lines don't necessarily have a lot to do with one another. So you can talk about in the discussion board for chapter 5, which of these growth strategies you feel is easiest and which would be most difficult. So you could think of that question as, where should a retailer start? If you want to grow, what's the best strategy to start with? Another discussion question is to think about the Gap. So the Gap is the parent company that owns the Gap. They own Baby Gap. They own Old Navy. They also own Athleta. And so they also, did I say Old Navy? Yes, Old Navy. So they own lots of different types of apparel stores. So think about what growth opportunity they were pursuing. And you can also think about which one of their new retail establishments is most synergistic with their original Gap, and why they might have started with a retail establishment that was very synergistic.